Adam and Dex. So let's talk about this cell network down. I started tracking it late last night, was getting reports from all across the country. I'm a former special ops guy, retired. Started getting reports from my group across the country and looking at exactly what was going on. I called it saying, hey, this is not solar, this is a cyber attack. And there are those out there that in the know that are now reporting that, and they're calling it a cyber too, and exactly the same thing that I was saying. If this was solar, it would hit everything at once, not a little bit here, a little bit there, and then spread through the whole network like a cyber virus. And that's exactly what it did. And what it's doing is spreading through the whole system, our comms and our infrastructure, like a cyber virus. So look into it. I know you guys do your research. You do a damn good job. And, I follow you guys. But again, this was a cyber attack, not solar. I look forward to your programs tonight. It's Thursday. Take care. Bye.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf. That is a message, one of many that we got today about the events that have gone down. Mostly very quiet. A lot of people are talking about, of course, the moon landing. People are talking about, of course, the solar events happening, which are also a really big deal. Multiple X-class flares happening at the same time. Very easy to say, oh, well, this is solar. Again, we haven't actually talked to Wages about this, but Wages did message me about the three very close and near X-class flares. But our stance is that this was not X-class flares that caused all of the havoc today. And by havoc, we're talking about a massive, massive outage of AT&T and Verizon, one of the most reliable networks out there, just had a huge hit. And it wasn't just huge swaths of area, it was actually spreading. And we'll go over that here in just a minute. But again, crazy stuff going on today. FBI and Homeland Security urgently investigating whether AT&T outage was a cyber attack, as security expert tells dailymail.com. It has all the hallmarks of a hack. Now, at 1 o'clock, or I forget what time it was, we actually went over this. We said originally that this was not solar, that this was a hack. In fact, the internet started saying, hey, this is not looking like it is, because there were many articles that actually stated that this was some sort of event from a solar flare. There were just as many articles and mainstream media pointing out that this was because of solar flares. The effects of what they should do versus what happened today do not make exact sense. So before we move any further, we're going to be showing you a problem today. Again, if you haven't already, we've been talking about this for 5 years. Go check out EMP Shield, because there is a way you can protect yourself against not only EMP or, again, EMP or electromagnetic pulse attack, but you can also protect yourself from the solar activity, which right now we are in solar cycle 25, one of the craziest cycles we have had in our lifetimes. This is a device that can actually protect you. It can actually ground the signal of an EMP or a CME or a Carrington level event from the sun in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, or even generator. Go to marfugglenews.com/EMP while they still have stock in. That's marfugglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF, because you'll be supporting us as an independent channel, and you'll be getting a huge $50 off discount per device. All right, so let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So first of all, the time frame, by the way, as far as the order that this happened, can you explain what first happened and then how people perceived it?
Well, most people perceived it by waking up in the morning and their phones weren't working. They were in this SOS only mode. And I think if you scroll down a little bit, you can see a picture of what that looked like, at least on an iPhone. And that SOS only mode meant it was no longer registered and there was no network. You had no access to your cellular provider. In most cases, AT&T. And people were finding out that they had zero access, and this started to spread. It didn't just all happen at once. It actually started happening through the middle of the night and then spread all through the morning. A lot of people were affected for a long period of time today. I will talk a little bit later about what time AT&T said they got it resolved. For they were the ones that were hit the largest. But this affected a lot of things. I mean, if you think about everybody that uses a cell phone, not just for their own personal use, but you've got people that are in business that use cell phones. They use cell phones to transact their credit cards. They use it to do Uber driving or door dashing. There's all sorts of people that were just unable to perform their jobs today.
Not to mention, we've seen when there's major hacks at hospitals, they can't even do operations. They can't move forward with any kind of treatment until they do certain protocols. And exactly that happened with huge health tech giant today. And they are saying that that there was a cyber attack at the national health tech giant causes outage at pharmacies. So as far as any kind of treatment that you can think of, insert blank here. People were having issues actually getting that through. Now, mind you, this is an SHTF. This is just this is small compared to what they are warning very well is possible. And by the way, cyber attack is one of the most likely out of all of the crazy things, the top 10 ways the world could end. As far as in modern civilization right now, we are completely dependent on electricity. We're completely dependent on the internet. It is how the world runs now. From everything we do, people are now walking on crutches of the digital nature. So without communications, we are up the creek. It says the source of a cyber attack that targeted one of the nation's largest prescription processors, which services 30,000 pharmacies nationwide and left many unable to fulfill prescriptions Thursday, was likely associated with a nation state, and the attackers likely gained access to some information technology systems, according to documents filed by the SEC's website. So that's not by a tabloid, that's by the SEC filing that this was under the cyber category. Again, that happened. Then the cell phone outage hits AT&T customers nationwide. Verizon and T-Mobile users also affected. I was in SOS for 25 minutes. A lot of people were much longer than that, and I'm T-Mobile. So this was quite wild. I didn't realize it until I realized that I didn't receive any of the stuff that people had sent me. Nothing. It was like it was completely off. Tens of thousands of AT&T customers have been reporting outages this morning of their home phone, internet, and mobile phone services, according to Down Detector. The outages popping up just before 3:30 a.m. Eastern, according to the graph shown on the website that tracks outages. Most users, 55%, say they're having issues with mobile phone service. More than a third of the customers reporting being affected says that they have no signal at all. And 8% of users say that their mobile internet is down. Somebody said, should get a stimulus check for this, one man wrote. And that's the attitude that people will have when this happens. That, trust me, people are going to go nuts when this actually goes down. If we have a massive attack and our entire grid goes down, I can only imagine how people are going to react. As far as were you affected by this? Let us know in the comments down below. We have actually had many people contacting us about this, saying that this is not even as small, as big as they say. It's bigger. That this was actually something that they're pushing under the carpet. They're telling you about everything else today. Senators, of course, want to remind you, this is something that first came to mind when we thought about this. So if you remember, not too long ago, we covered that the senators were actually issued satellite phones and offered demonstrations on the upgraded security devices. All of our senators, or at least half of them, the other half, for some reason, did not take it. It was Dex, do you remember? It was literally like 50 out of 100. It was like one party didn't take them or something out of principle or something.
Pretty much down the line there.
More than 50 senators have been issued satellite phones for emergency communication. People familiar with the measures told CBS News the devices are part of a series of new security measures being offered to senators by the Senate Sergeant-at-Arms who took over shortly after the assault on the U.S. Cap, right? So this was done back a while ago, and everybody was like, why do they need satellite phones, right? Well, you would think about that for the president or for the top three, but not for every senator across. That's a continuity of government thing, to have communications, but that's also done in reaction to something. Like they're preparing for us to not have communications. Not to mention, we've covered the DHS list of things that they were having small businesses and some of the stuff that they were looking for. They wanted rapidly deployable checkpoints. They wanted a mass casualty tracking system, and they wanted a new one built in a very short amount of time. And they also wanted, of course, a broadband system that basically didn't rely on the cell phone towers. They wanted a communications that could be nationwide that didn't depend on any of the services that they have now. Basically saying, if stuff goes down. There's also I'm trying to think of the name of the operation. What is the operation with the launching balloons with phone service? Do you remember what that was called? It was something star something. Operation
Starfall.
Operation Starfall. Think about how creepy of a name that is. When you think of Starfall, you think of an asteroid coming down or something, or satellites. And what the AT&T outage meant for 911 dispatchers, well, there was huge, huge issues as far as people could not even call 911. People around the country woke up on Thursday morning with no service on their cell phones. It was no glitch, but rather a major outage that hit AT&T customers the hardest. For much of the day before AT&T said around 3 p.m. that the service was restored. The outages threw a monkey wrench in calls, including some to 911. The Calhoun County Consolidated Dispatch Authority and said that the outage had a minor effect on just about everything from its text to 911 system to some calls not getting through. Sometimes text to 911 isn't reliable as normal, and we're getting some of them. Some of them were not. So if it doesn't go through, you'll get a bounce back message. Imagine this, if you were in somebody's trunk or somebody is about to take your life and your only option is either to call 911 or to even text them. And now you have this convenient text feature and it gets sent back and says your message did not go through. It would be pretty crappy. This was a short time period compared to what they believe may happen. Dex, go ahead.
Well, it's interesting. We actually had a 911 outage in Atlanta a couple days ago, and before this event happened. The other thing that went on is that a lot of people, even when they didn't have the 911 outage there with their emergency services, people were calling it just to test it, and they were having to put out information saying, please stop calling, because they were overloading the lines. So people were getting hit left and right, whether it didn't work or it was just getting overloaded because people were freaking out.
And of course, with all of the, the rumors and speculation going on right now, when people go to check their home internet, their cell phone, they try to go over and check their home line and everything's out. People were panicking for good reason. Everybody is expecting something like this happening. Most people by now have heard about the threats of this. And when they go and check and everyone in the room's phones are out, that's kind of scary. And as far as the solar option, again, what we have heard from retired and active military groups, one in particular, we played the phone message. We tried to, we did remove anything that was identifier and got permission from them to use that. But as far as the emails, basically people say that this was not solar. Now, I haven't talked to Wages. I wonder if Wages does think that this is solar, but Dex, there's some pretty good reasons why this was probably not solar. Can you explain why that is?
Certainly, there's a lot of news that was even published at the time, and we'll show you a couple of them. They're linked on our website that actually were trying to draw the correlation between the two. There was a 1972 solar incident that actually took out AT&T's landlines, so a lot of people looked to that. But actually, what had happened was there was two X-class flares that hit around the same time as this outage started. Everyone thought that was too coincidental to be true. So they were thinking that was the case. And that's why a lot of people reported it. Now, when you look at where they actually hit, a lot of the strength of those X-class flares didn't even hit the right portions of the planet for that to have an effect here. And the way it would work is it'd be more of the CME that comes later than the X-class. The X-class is more going to take down radio communications that go through the upper atmosphere. So that's where a lot of the speculation was around this being more cyber related because of the way it propagated and slowly grew, just like the intelligence we received saying, hey, pay attention to this. From what they were tracking, this was a growing issue, kind of like a virus spreading.
And not to mention the solar angle happened within minutes and within the hour of it happening. The cyber and then now the new investigation that happened within about 5 hours after. So it happened after the solar angle. So as far as this goes, this is why we prep. This is why if this happened on a much bigger scale, people need to be ready. People need to understand that you may not be able to just go to Google to look something up or go to DuckDuckGo and find the instructions on how to do things. This is why we suggest having things in print. If there's so much free information out there as far as how to do things, there's how-tos that I guarantee you almost every one of you probably need. As far as if we were in a position like this, there is information available right now that you can go and learn that skill. But you can't do that if the internet is down. If you can't do that if the internet is completely off. And if it does go off for real, it will be off for not hours, but days, months, and even years. They are saying that a grid down situation, you would be down at least 9 months, and that's on the most positive, fairy tale timeline. That's with the supply chain working. Again, they say it's more close to 24 months. So that is worst case scenario. Don't hope for the best and prepare for the worst, and you'll be good through whatever disaster, whether it be a storm, earthquake, or whatever else. Now, we're not going to go fully into this because if you go over here, if you're watching the replay of this video, again, at the very corner of the screen, you will actually see a link to the video. We're going to talk about this, but China's hacking and spying revealed in bombshell leak. We'll go over this more on our future video, so make sure to go and click the link here. Of course, if you're watching live, it won't be there. So keep that in mind. Let us know if you have information. You can also call that number, 224-400-6273 or 224-400-6 MARF, and then press option 3 to leave a phone message like that gentleman did. Dex, thank you so much.
Much love. Great job, brother.
You guys, will see you in a few. Have a good night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.